Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of the show, Trek Wednesday. Started 2016.330 at 22:04 Eastern Standard Time. We regret to inform you here that Darth Protius has come down with the Boolean flu after shooting the Boolean cannon one too many times, if you know what I'm saying. So, we will wait for his analysis until next week. But the show will still go on. We have here the greatest panel in all of STO. Yes, we're even talking about that other Jupiter thing, whatchamacallit, that went on way back when. We'll start with our Admiral of the Intelligence Agency and Chief Sarcasm Detector. Sarcasm Detector, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I see you're as happy as ever. Our chief of cheesy tactics and spam more torpedoes to get good. By the way, the D7 does need command seating as well. You know what? They should just make Intel and command user selected seating. Best ship in the game. What do you think?
I think that's a terrible idea, and I think they should just, go and ban all torp users, Odin.
That's why you're still using torps, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
That will never get old. Oh, I just want to hug you right now. You're so good. It's all right. You'll grow to get better with them. It's okay. It's okay. And the man who puts together the best ship porn in the industry. It's so good. It is so good that you will get excited every time you see this film. Zef from ZEFilms.
What up? And did I just get an intro from the Cisco himself, or?
The Cisco has spoken.
Oh my god. Prophets.
Dude, that last one just had me like, oh my gosh, man, that was good stuff. All right. But let me back off of the fanboy stuff here and let's go straight into the notes here.
Put it back in your pants.
Look, man, let me just change real quick while you guys talk about the whole new one there. What are people going to do and what's the bloody rewards for it?
So tomorrow, after tomorrow's big-ass patch, Q's Winter Wonderland will be starting with a new fishing thing. I don't recall what the prizes are for it, but we get to go fishing, which is, I guess, cool. It's something new, at least. But as usual, they're going to have the usual races to get your daily thing for the new ship, which we'll talk about in a second. And it looks like they've also introduced a line of fancy new ugly sweaters. But we have a link for the blog where you can take a look at the new sweaters if you haven't seen it yet. And there seems to be some new ground stuff that they outlined here. A new tactical module called Microchronic Warhead? Yeah. And a science module. I don't see anything about engineer in here, though. It looks like engineers didn't get any love. But this winter event is going to, like I said, starting tomorrow. This will be available for PC players and console players for both PS4 and Xbox One. But the ship that you're striving for is different between the two platforms. And I think I'm going to kick the ship talk over to Spencer, because I think Spencer looked at this ship more than I did.
Which one?
You want to start with the one that the PC players are getting?
Yes, the upgraded Chelgrat.
Yeah, the Boag.
I forget the specific layout on the Chelgrat, so I don't remember what seat exactly got the upgrade, but they did give the Lieutenant Commander Science a temporal operative, which it's nice, but I personally would rather have had Intel. But temporal is still pretty good. It's just a pain that it's on the Lieutenant Commander Science and not on one of the universals.
I don't know. I mean, you could put the other Lieutenant Commander Universal to Science. Yeah, you won't be tack heavy, but it can deal.
Well, you don't really need more than that Commander tack anyways with the current meta with, strategic cooldown reduction. That commander tack is enough for all your tack abilities.
Jump in real quick here. From the original Shelgret, they took the Lieutenant Tactical and turned it into a Lieutenant Commander Universal.
That's a good change.
That's a really good change.
And sitting here with this thing is a 4 tack, 4 engineering, 3 science. You're going to have a decent balance of science consoles and tack. And with the K13 consoles out there, for a cheapo build, I said. Gosh, dang it, man. You and your ultra min-maxing. What do you think this is? Some straight DPS talk show or something? Come on.
No, I think the K13 consoles are for poor people who can't afford the good consoles that are really cheap because of the Infinity Lockbox.
All right, I concede that. I
just want to point out that the original Shelgret was one of the better ships in the game before Delta Rising and the Tier 6 came out. Especially specifically for Federation characters.
Yeah, I saw a lot of the Chels out there with drain builds in mind, and I think that theme more or less was carried over either by force or just because it felt familiar to people who were building these beforehand. And I'm wondering if this one here, it's straight up beams and firing cycle haste and cooldown reduction. Yeah, it'll just blow up things that way.
Well, you can get very sciencey with this ship and use the science to complement, especially like drain to complement your firepower. So it is very versatile. 2 universal seating. One of them is an ensign, and the other is a lieutenant commander. You can use the ensign as a tactical and have the lieutenant commander as a second science slot, and you're pretty much golden.
I think in the destroyer package and going over the starship ability package, devastating weaponry, that's supposed to be crit damage if I remember correctly, 15%. Because they're looking at that, they're saying it's crit chance and then crit hit chance for the other one. They probably meant crit damage. So it's just damage. If it's just like what we see over in the Manticore, it's 15%. It's a beautiful thing to have. Really, it is. I'm big with the destroyer packages. So this thing is a 4/4 with a destroyer package on it. Oh, this is going to be a high DPS ship.
Well, it was back in the day, the Shelgret, and this is basically just an upgrade to the Shelgret. To the point where even the console that comes with it is the same console that's on the Shelgret.
It's a buffed up version that has some passives added onto it.
The energy dissipator. So, wow. Let me see what the heck we got going on with this thing.
Yeah, it has a passive Drain X buff and crit chance. So it is huge, but it'll be nice.
But it's still paying homage to the original Drain theme that a lot of people use for the original Chell.
Yes.
Now, any word I know Protius will be the one typically here to give us the R&D on this one here. But the Cryonic Siphon, the tier 5 starship trait off of this thing here. Sorry, level 5 starship trait on this thing. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent, what?
I think we'll need to see the specific numbers on it. I think it will be interesting for people that run Energy Siphon. I think we'll just have to wait and see.
Estio Dracula might actually have something to, look forward to this year.
Actually, that shouldn't be too bad. I mean, what this does is reduce shield hardness and damage resistance while Energy Siphon is up. So, Energy Siphon's not something you typically see in a DPS build unless you're running something like Greedy Emitters. So that should be interesting. I mean, you could run it and give yourself an indirect damage buff.
I kind of see this for a target with a lot of shields is going to stay up for longer than 15 seconds. You know, which these days, really, what target is going to be up longer than 15 seconds anyway? Nothing.
Yeah.
Not with a high DPS run anyway. Nothing. I mean, what? Borg Queen or Corfez Boss, what? 10 seconds? Tops?
Well, most people aren't doing those that fast, but I don't see many running these, obviously on the DPS builds, but I do see these being, or this trait being used on support recluses and stuff, because that could be useful against even like the TAC Cuban ISA.
It's doing a damage resistance. I'm assuming that's to the actual hull itself. So this is a decent 1-2 punch all around. It'll take care of weakening shields. We'll need to see what degree, but then it also does a damage resistance, assuming against the hull, which typically this type of verbiage would indicate that it should be going against the hull. So it's not useless just because the target has no shields. You could still pot energy siphon and then knock out somebody's DR. Well, hopefully it's something like minus 20 or minus 30 on it. That'd actually be pretty. What do you think? Pretty strong on that, because you're getting a minus 10 off of the Nausicaan, stacking damage resistance off of the Delphic, and if you run energy siphon on that target as well, depending on what the value of the debuff is, I'm guessing a minus 20 for something like this. You're just those three alone, you're going to see what 50 if you're running high yield 3, which we can easily fit on this ship. Minus 80 DR on the target alone, just from those three.
Spencer, how do you think this ship compares to the other high-end DPS ships that are out there?
It's a good freebie ship. This ship should easily be able to do 200k, but it's not going to obviously go out and beat the Imperium. It's not going to beat the Nandi. The Nandi is very powerful right now, especially on a Romulan with the 6 bridge officer seats. But I see this as a very good entry-level ship for people wanting to have a high-performing ship that can, handle pretty well, survive pretty well, because this thing is set up pretty well for the current meta of like a feedback pulse build to me. So I think it'll do very well.
Yeah. It does have more hull than the Tier 5U version of the Shellgrat. So it's actually a little bit tougher than the Shellgrat, which is interesting. But you know what? I absolutely agree with you. As a freebie ship, freebie, you still have to grind for it. You still have to spend time, but that's like 5 minutes per day for 15, 16 days or something like that.
Yeah, it's all intents and purposes. You play the game, you do that little tax. It's a freebie ship.
So 5 minutes per day for 3 weeks, and you get the ship. It's free. So in that regards, people starting to play or new players or don't have that many high-end tier 6 ships, this will do absolutely fantastic. And I think it has plenty of room to scale up in skill. So from beginner all the way up to I won't say the bleeding edge high end. I agree with Spencer. I don't think it's going to be the bleeding edge DPS. I don't think it's going to hit 300k DPS in any way or form.
That's possible with it having recursive. You're not going to see the 300k in a pug run, but like in a coordinated run, 3-2 with that. That's possible with anything that can run a good feedback pulse setup right now, to be honest, on attack.
Well, it's flexible enough. I think that's what I like about the ship, that it does have that flexibility to 2 universal seating. It only has the 4 tactical consoles and only 3 engineering, so I think that will hold it back a little bit. It's not terrible. Let's be honest, that's not terrible. It's not even bad. But bleeding edge, It will have a little bit of a cap. For a freebie ship isn't a terrible thing. I think this one will have a lot of roles, can fill out